Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It is another BS Radar, hashtag BS Radar. I've got Lena Koke from Axess Law out of Toronto in Canada. Hey, Lena, how are you today?
Good. How are you, Russ?
Really good, thank you. Really good. Pumped to have you on. Now, for those that haven't tuned in the BS Radar, basically I tap founders and leaders on the shoulder, and I want to hear their one hot tip to sniff out the BS from a job candidate. And Lena, you've got something to share for us today from your work. Is it from at Axess or from previous roles, or where's it from?
Most of these are from Axess.
Okay, excellent. Go for it.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm going to take my my one tip and I'm going to actually expand it into 3 questions that I ask. So this is something that's been refined over the years. But what I've noticed is you can find someone who has all the skill sets in the world that match your job description, but if their attitude sucks, you're going to have a miserable time. They're never going to last, and if they do last, you don't want them to last because they'll just poison the whole pool.
Yeah.
So typically what I do is I try to ask a series of 3 questions casually during the interview process. Yeah. So they come in, we make some small talk, somewhere interspersed in the conversation. I try to ask, how was your trip in today? So, you know, whether they drove or they took transport, whatever it is, how was your trip in?
Yep.
One. Second one, because we're Canadian, we have to ask about the weather. If it's not the weather, it's hockey. So it's got to be the weather. You know, oh, I haven't been out for a few hours. How's the weather out there?
Yep.
And the third question, so I ask about tripping. Oh, how was your weekend? So typically we hold interviews on Mondays and Tuesdays. Oh, you know, how was the weather? You know, how was your weekend? Now, what I've noticed over time is there's a pattern. If you get someone who answers all 3 questions with some sort of negativity, you know, traffic was terrible, my weekend was horrible because, you know, my in-laws were over, and, you know, weather, oh, it's raining, it's terrible. You're out. I don't care how good you are. You're out the door. I don't care if all of those things are true. You're out.
Yep.
2 out of 3 with negative, negative answers. Typically, it's a really hard sell. Like, it has to be freezing rain outside. You have the worst weekend of your life, and, like, you know, and you know, there was gridlock.
Yep.
So that's usually a really big red flag that it's hard to get around.
Yeah.
One negativity, you know what, you know, we're all human. I would probably do the same thing if it's crappy weather, if you had a bad drive-in. Usually what I do with one sort of really negative comment is I just check for consistency throughout the rest of the course of the conversation. You know, are they, you know, how's the rest of the conversation? If there are no other red flags, move on out. So what I've noticed with this is you're not going to necessarily be able to assess whether they have the best skills out there. Yeah. But what you will be able to do is weed out the people that you definitely do not want coming through your door every day.
I love it. I love it. So cool. And I think, like, even if they've had a really bad weekend, a terrible run-in with traffic, and what was the third one? There was the weekend traffic.
And yeah, so weekend traffic, weather.
Weather. And they're down about the weather. Like, you could like sense a disposition in them, I think. Like, they might have had the worst time, but they could say it with a smile and be like, oh, well, you know, next weekend will be better, or hopefully I get a good drive home. Like, and they're
exactly
the sort of that you want in your business. Like, especially if you're interviewing on a Monday or a Tuesday and you have your team catch-ups, for example, or a stand-up or something, are they going to bring the energy? Are they fountains or drains? You know what I mean? Like, what are they doing for your business?
Exactly.
Yeah.
This has been the best, most consistent, I would call it a filter rather than a tip. You just want to, you want to weed these things out. And once you've decided, hey, you're not going to poison the whole pool, then you can move on to, do you actually have a skill set that we need?
Very good. Love it. Thanks so much, Lena. That's a great tip. If anyone's got any questions or comments about that, please just feel free to pop them down below in the thread. Jump on and follow Lena. She does great content on LinkedIn as well. So thanks, Lena. Really appreciate your time.
Pleasure.
Thank you.